Okay, so in this video, what we're going to be looking at is effective interest rate. So I'm just going to read this out. So previously we have looked at paying off a loan at a set interest rate. However, we found that the amount of interest paid would vary with different compounding terms. So if we go daily, weekly, monthly, what we'd actually get is different amounts of interest. So that's even with saying that the annual interest rate is 12% or 10% or something like that. So what we're saying is the effective annual interest rate is used to compare the annual interest between loans with these different compounding terms. So if you did quarterly, what you'd find is it would have a different effective, like when I say effective, it's effective what you're paying, interest rate depending on that. So let's have a quick look at the formula. So the formula is R equals, then in brackets, 1 plus I over n to the power of n minus 1. Okay? And so what we'd put in is our effective annual interest rate. Sorry, not put in. R is our effective annual interest rate. I is our nominal rate. So if it's 10%, but we represent it as a decimal. So what we mean by that, for example, is my nominal rate. That 0.01 is my decimal. So 10% is, it's like saying 10 divided by 100. If it was 12%, you'd go 12 divided by 100. And that's what, and so that's 0.1, that's going to be 0.12, and these are the ones we'd use in that calculation. And then N here is a number of compounding periods per year, not total over however many years, per year. And that's an important one because I've seen it where students have put it for the number of total, that's going to give you the wrong answer. Okay, and so the example here is for a loan of $100 at 10% per annum, you compound it quarterly over 2 years. Again, we're ignoring that part. We're looking solely here at this and this part. So that's where you get 4 from, and that's where, so that in this case, that is our N and that is our I. And that's all we need to look for there. And we put now in that sum and put in your calculator and calculate it. Or I came across this one recently, effective interest, using your CAS. You type in EFF, then in brackets 10.4, so 10 being my interest rate. So that's I and that's N, okay? And that will give you the same value. Now, as you can see, you'd round this one up, so 10.38. And what's showing here is it's just a comparison between the two, where you're looking at, that's where you're just saying it's 10%, 10% each time, but because you're doing that on an ongoing basis, your effective interest rate is actually a little bit higher. So after a year, you're effectively paying, like, you know, so after each year, it's effectively you had an interest rate of 10.38%. Okay. All right. So that's what we're looking at there. That's the sort of the idea behind what's going on here. All right. And they've shown it, those two values are the same. Those two values are the same. So remember, just as a reminder, this is a recursion. So you might need to be able to keep in mind that if you want to do it in the calculator, type in 100, put the rest of it in, enter, 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 enter. Okay? Remember, that's how you can do that recursion. That's a recursion process here in this amount R in part. All right? So let's do a work example. Let's do it using the equation to start with, and then we'll do it with the calculator. All right, so the personal loan is taken out over 4 years. Is that important for this? No. What's important is this one, because that is going to be our R. What's going to be important is that quarterly. That's going to be our N. That's going to equal 4. Okay, so I'm going to go R equals 1 plus I over N to the N minus 1. So that's going to be 1 plus, remember, that 12% there is going to be represented as 0.12 divided by N n is going to be 4. I'm going to do the power of 4 minus 1, and I will get a value of, so we'd get a value of 0.1255. Remember, that's my decimal. I want to convert that to a percentage, so I multiply it by 100. So that becomes 12.55%. And that's my value there. Okay, so that's corrected 2 decimal places because that's what it asked for here. So remember, this stuff's important, 2 decimal places and stuff like that. Now, just as a quick thing here, let's try that. Remember what I showed you here? What's the thing? So you're going to put your interest rates. The interest rate was 12. It was done over quarter repayments. Enter to 12.55, and it gives you the same value. So I would also suggest doing it as basically R equals, use your CAS, go EFF 12.4. Okay, so let's just have a quick, just while we're on that, let's quickly type EFF. Just want to so EFF bracket 12, so it's still 12%, comma, and let's say I'm paying monthly, so that's going to be 12 there. And so my effective interest rate there is 12.68. So notice that does have a big impact on what the effective interest rate is. Okay. And I suppose if you did a thing of typing on the computer is a little bit slower. EFF 12.1 give me 12. So that shows you that. So that's how you can use that function on your calculator. Okay.